why do you want to tell this story? Like, you have this Star Wars-esque space romp. Why do you want to tell it? And if they don't have a good answer.
How does a writer give story meaning?
It probably comes down to theme and making us root for the main character, for the protagonist, or care for the characters in general. Theme is absolutely crucial that you define that theme as early on as possible in your foundational elements. It's the, why are you writing this? Why is it relevant? Why is it urgent? What is this story about? What is it communicating? So if that is something that is compelling and pure and relevant to our times, and you're showing it, not telling us, and you're not preaching a message, but you're just showing drama that explores that theme, then I think you have a really good chance of giving your story meaning.
Do we always have to like the main character?
We don't always have to, but that's probably a good example. If we don't like the main character, if they're an anti-hero, there needs to be some meaning to the story. There needs to be a reason for it to exist, you know? Or there's other characters that we really care about, you know, like in Breaking Bad, Walt just keeps getting worse and worse. He's turning into this monster, but we do care about the surrounding characters too, you know?
I think you've said to create surprising stories. How does a writer do this?
That's kind of the magic sauce, is how can you hit that signpost beat in the correct page range and yet still surprise us, still pull the rug out from under us? I mean, it's kind of writing. Writing should surprise you as the story goes on, you know? Good writing should surprise you, should not be predictable. So, I mean, I think just the trick is ask yourself, could the reader see this coming? You know, is this predictable? And then that's why you want to show it to friends. You show it to 3 friends and every one of them says, okay, I kind of saw that midpoint coming, you know, that twist where the house burns down. And you're like, okay, well, I need to hide the buildup to the house burning down, you know? Or maybe the house doesn't burn down. Maybe there's some other disaster that happens at the midpoint. But that's kind of good writing, is you have to figure out how to surprise the reader.
And is that something it's almost like chemistry between 2 people. You can't really define why it happens, but it happens, It's magic. Is that the part of the writing process that's not really definable, not teachable in some sense?
Pretty much. I mean, I think that's kind of maybe the number one thing, is you can't teach someone how to come up with surprising, compelling story elements, you know, plot points, beats. You can't, that can't really be taught. I think it just has to be in your nature. That maybe it's that you have to have that intention, because a lot of new writers, their intention is just to write something that's commercial and that can sell. And so they're like, oh, I'm just gonna write something like X TV show or X movie. But as you go on, and you get better and better, you realize I need to surprise that reader. And yeah, I mean, I push my writers and my students to, you know what, I saw this coming, come up with a more surprising beat there. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 passes before they do, but I do see them making that progress. But there are those writers that it just kind of never clicks for them. You know, they're trying to string together cliches rather than they don't have that fire in them to tell a unique story.
Well, I like what you said earlier about pouring it into this mold. And I think that's a great analogy. But if we broke it down again to dating, it's like, oh, I've got this great gal. She's wonderful. We'll set up this meeting, and the chemistry isn't there, and you can go on all these dates, and it's not there. But then you run into the right one, and it is, and you can't explain why that is. So you can make yourself ready. Same thing with a story. You can figure out all these things.
I mean, there's the indefinable X factor. What makes a story, a character, a scene compelling and amazing and exciting. there is an X factor that can't be taught, But I can teach you techniques that are going to get you further and further toward writing something really compelling. I can also, the first step is a writer comes to me and I say, give me 3 log lines for 3 separate concepts, 3 separate ideas. So maybe 1 movie and 2 series. And I'll tell them what jumps out at me, and I'll ask them a bunch of questions. Like maybe I have a writer who he just has this dream. He wants to write like a big police procedural story or like a Navy SEALs action thing, but his other ideas are better. So we've been working on these other ideas. Like he has something set in the tech world, and because he works in the tech world and he lives in the Bay Area and he knows that so much better, but he's never been a Navy SEAL. He's never been a cop. And so, every now and then I say, well, okay, we're working on this script. We've been working on this a long time. What about your next one? Hit me with some more log lines. And his ideas that aren't action and cliche, the ones that are about people and family and interesting settings and culture. He's also Asian. And so I said, work Asian culture into your stories as well, And I kind of had to push him in that direction. It wasn't natural for him. But then when he started to do it, it really jumped out. And I said, maybe you should explore that idea. And that turned out to be a good thing.
That's a great story. Yeah, almost as if, people like the concept of something or the idea of something, like a career, but maybe they're not totally suited for it. I don't know if it's the same with story.
I think it's the same with the topic they choose, topic and genre they choose. So like I've had writers come to me and like they love sci-fi movies and they really want to write a sci-fi movie, but they might not be the best person to write a sci-fi movie. They may end up writing a story about their family and when they grew up, but that'll take a while. That'll take at least, a few weeks or a month of talking with them and having Zoom sessions and just asking them, like, why do you want to tell this story? Like, you have this Star Wars-esque space romp. Why do you want to tell it? And if they don't have a good answer, if it's just, I just like those movies, well, that's not a good enough answer to spend so much time, hundreds of hours on something, and then risk the rejection when you submit it and have to rewrite it for many drafts. It's a lot of work and there is a lot of rejection involved, and you have to be able to put up with that. And so why do that? Why commit that time and effort and toil to a story that you don't really care about?